Oh, yeah, you're right. Yeah,
So
yeah.
once this one is Facebook and
Yeah,
running,
you're right. They need to have the
we
other.
try and then
Yeah, you're right.
that
That's
would be
right.
like an interference.
Yeah.
Alrighty. Going out over YouTube. This is the Voice of Stockton.
We need to do the audio file.
Economic Justice Report. Balancing the Scales, Economic Justice Report, host Vic Bergsdorf. And here, let me bring the mic over as you can and listen on the headphones.
Okay.
And Vic, what do you want me to, what's the title?
Today's date. Oh, I mean the show title?
Uh-huh.
Balancing the Scales.
No, what are you talking about? What's your topic?
Oh, today, put down the Alaska Permanent Fund.
What is it?
Alaska Permanent Fund.
Ooh, that'll be a strange one.
Yeah.
Alaska, so
Yeah.
just Alaska, and that
Well,
would have
Yeah.
everything.
That'll.
And then-
There's a bunch more
Okay, so
reports,
you're
but
ready
yeah.
to-
Hey, Richard Slezak. Oh, wait a minute. What the heck? Richard Slezak here. No, we're ready to report, but we're not reporting yet, and
No.
so this must be play. Richard Slezak. I'm not used to this program, Betty. I don't do the double ones. I'm not used to that recording scheme.
Well, you have to record it.
Well, oh, okay, there it goes.
It's recorded.
All righty. We're on, we're recording this show now, and Vic, go ahead. We're already
Okay.
out on YouTube. We're recording the show.
I'm not hearing anything.
It's this is the Voice of
Okay.
Stockton.org coming to you over the internet and also on YouTube. I'm Richard Slezak. Vic Bergsdorf is with me, and we're going to be adjusting cameras and going on to Facebook as well. So here's Vic.
Okay, welcome to Balancing the Scales, the Economic Justice Report. This is your host, Vic Bergsdorf. Now, on today's show, I'm going to be covering these topics: the Alaska Permanent Fund, the Minimum Wage CBO report, Americans going to Mexico for cheaper health care. We're going to redefine the term democratic socialism, and we're going to go and compare Denmark's social benefits to America's social benefits on our Why is America So Great segment. So, before I get started with the three economic just stories in the news, I want to first talk a little bit about politics. With the upcoming election next year, I want to ask you guys, where do you get your information to make informed decisions? You know, when you decide on an initiative or decide on a candidate, right? You have to figure out, okay, where am I getting my information to decide who am I going to vote for? What do I want to vote for? Let me just tell you where I get my information from. I get my information from a variety of sources. My first source is Connections, the Peace and Justice Network. I also get it from TYT Network, Alternate.org, Huffington Post, RT America, and CNN and ABC News. Yeah, I use a variety of news sources. And yeah, I use RT America too. Now, that is a Russian broadcast in America, but you know what? They have a lot of American broadcasters on it. Rick Sanchez, Tom Hartman, Jesse Ventura. So I use a variety of news sources. I'm only mentioning that because when you get to the voting booth and you make a selection, make sure you're making a decision based on information from a variety of sources. Why? Because a lot of sources have biases, built-in biases, right? Fox News is one of them. So read a breadth of newspapers and listen to a variety of news from different sources before you make your selection on who you're going to vote for and what you're going to vote for. Okay, so that was my little political commentary. Now let me go into the first economic justice story in the news, which is titled "The Amazing True Socialist Miracle of the Alaska Permanent Fund." And I'm going to watch a clip from YouTube, dated August 20th, 2018, and I'm going to be doing commentaries from Vox.com dated February 13, 2018, and from Heavy.com, dated June 27, 2019, regarding the Alaska Permanent Fund. So let's watch this clip right now. By the way, I trimmed this clip, so the person they're referencing in this clip is Jay Hammond. He was the individual, he was the governor who got the Alaska Permanent Fund going and got it started. So let's watch the clip first, and then we'll come and do a narrative.
Bush pilot in Alaska. In 1965, Hammond became borough manager of a small coastal town called Bristol Bay. Upset by the fact that the poor residents of Bristol Bay were getting only 3% of the revenues from local salmon catch, Hammond proposed a small tax on the fish catch to seed a social wealth fund.
I can move this.
No, don't move it.
Okay.
Outsiders in the Bristol Bay borough would get a permanent dividend-paying investment fund. The idea
If you can't catch it, it's okay. Yeah, I can just whatever you get, whatever we get, fine.
Is this camera?
So he tried again, this time with a local Native American tribe. They had received a
Yeah, there we go.
$9 settlement from the federal government.
Okay, that's good now. Yeah, that's good.
Use it to seed a social wealth fund. That didn't work either. Then, after being elected governor, Hammond tried increasing the natural gas tax and using some of the proceeds to give Alaskan residents a tax credit. That passed, but Hammond was disappointed that only taxpayers received the benefit and that almost no one remembered the tax credit. If people weren't aware of the program, it would be easy to take away. Next time, he decided he wanted to put a check in everyone's hand. So when drillers hit another oil strike, Hammond argued that the ensuing tax money should be used for a real social wealth fund. After vetoing one initial attempt for being too moderate, he got it through in the form of a constitutional amendment in 1976. It started paying out an annual dividend in 1982. It has since accumulated about $65 billion in assets and paid out a $1,000 dividend to every Alaskan citizen in 2017.
Okay, you heard that. A $2,000 dividend every Alaskan citizen. Let me tell you a little bit about this. Individuals who receive, since inception of this program, the Alaska Permanent Fund, since inception, individuals who have received annual dividends since inception from this program have received more than $21,000 in total for singles and a total of $80,000 for a family of four. Yeah. So let me read you the 5 things that are really important to understand about this fund. Alaska had to amend their constitution to allow the creation of the permanent fund. The first dividend check of $1,000 was distributed in 1982. The fund's current value exceeds $60 billion. And officials say that permanent income can contribute up to $1.5 billion to Alaska's economy. And get this, it is wildly popular, I'm quoting now from Heavy.com, it is wildly popular in a conservative state. It has created thousands of jobs, reduced income inequality, and improved health for children. It creates thousands of jobs because all of a sudden you have an influx of between $700 million to $1.5 billion into the economy. In a state of our size, it's really an enormous amount. So, that was quoted from Heavy.com. The other thing that's important to know is that the permanent fund helped increase the health of children and has contributed to decreases in crime. So, what's interesting is that Alaska figured out a long time ago how to use this oil wealth to give its residents free cash and wipe out the most extreme forms of poverty. Okay, the fund is an example of the UBI, which is Universal Basic Income, that Andrew Yang talks about. Now, I'm going to go over what he's going to do. He's got a different way of going about it, but that'll be on another show. Now, let me continue on. The permanent fund has since 1982 paid out an annual dividend to every man, woman, and child living in Alaska from between $800 and $2,000 just for being a resident of Alaska, just for being alive and being in Alaska. That's it. The permanent fund pays out the checks, permanent investment fund financed by oil money, and it was determined by economists that full-time employment didn't change at all, and the share of Alaskans who work part-time actually increased 17%. I'm quoting now from Vox.com, and I quote, realistically, a similar national policy financed by taxes on land value, carbon emissions, alcohol, cigarettes, gasoline, and sugar would likely do to the entire U.S. what Alaska's policy does is reduce poverty, boost average incomes, while not harming the economy. End of quote. And this is the most fantastic, unbelievable part about this fund. Well, it's just amazing. It's not fantastic. It's amazing. The permanent fund was set up by Governor J. Hammond, a Republican. A Republican. Okay? This is amazing, folks. A Republican governor tried 3 times before he was governor, well, combined when he was governor and twice before that. You heard it yourself in the video. To create a social wealth fund. A social wealth fund to help the poor people in his community. And he didn't stop until he got it. And he helped change the Constitution to get it. I mean, where is this guy coming from? This guy's a Republican. He passed away, I think in 81 or 82. I forgot when. But he got this permanent fund through, and he was a Republican. Can you imagine that? They had those kind of Republicans back then who were not all for the corporates and the millionaires and billionaires. They actually have people like Jay Hammond. I can't believe it, and it has to go off to him. I mean, if he was alive today, trying to put this through today, he'd be tarred and feathered by the Republican Party, in my opinion. Okay, so that was the first economic justice story in the news, and now we're going to go to the second economic story, which is conservatives grasp at straws over the CBO's $15 an hour minimum wage analysis, which shows clear benefits. So I'm going to go to a clip now of Bernie Sanders talking about the $15 an hour issue, and then I'm going to come back and talk about a story from commondreams.org dated July 10th, 2019. I'll be paraphrasing and quoting from that about how the conservatives feel about the $15 an hour CBO report. But let's watch Bernie Sanders right now.
On Earth, because the wages he has paid his employees are so low.
He's talking about Jeff Bezos at Amazon.
Food stamps, Medicaid, and subsidized housing and other governmental programs. Today, I want to give credit where credit is due. And I want to congratulate Mr. Bezos for doing exactly the right thing. Today, he has raised the minimum wage at Amazon and Whole Foods effective next month. He has raised that minimum wage to $15 an hour. And that applies not only to full-time workers at Amazon, but to part-time workers and temporary workers as well. Further, Mr. Bezos has indicated his support for raising the national minimum wage. And as someone who was introduced a $15 an hour federal minimum wage, I very much look forward to working with him in this area.
Okay, so that was Bernie Sanders talking about how Jeff Bezos increased the wages of Amazon workers, Whole Foods workers, $15 an hour, and agreeing to that we need it now on a national basis. He's the richest man in the world. Okay, now, this, I'm going to quote now from Common Dreams, and listen to this. This is from the commondreams.org article. A paper released, I quote, by 2 UC Berkeley economists looked at the existing evidence and found that $15 an hour salary will have no adverse effects on employment, weekly hours, or annual hours worked, and no meaningful employment loss. The main impact is a decline in household and child poverty. The CBO paints a pretty solid picture of increased wages for 27 million low-wage Americans. These broad benefits outweigh the cost of 1 million jobs lost. Now, I'm referencing this article because you're only going to hear the conservatives talk about this in a negative light. There will no more be a pro-con argument anymore, which is kind of interesting because we just heard Jeff Bezos, or you can look it up online, Jeff Bezos agreeing to $15 an hour and supporting a $15 an hour national wage. So I'm going to quote now again from the Common Dreams article, quote, but you'll never guess how this is being addressed by conservative business interests. CBO warns a federal $15 minimum wage will cost up 3.7 million jobs nationwide. Blair is the headline of the Job Creators Network, a front group assembled by co-founder of Home Depot, Bernie Marcus, with a board that includes disgraced former Labor Secretary nominee Andy Putzer and disgraced former Federal Reserve nominee Steve Moore. 3.7 million number quoted is the highest end of a range of potential outcomes that the CBO estimated, not the exact number. 1.3 million was the midpoint. So this is what I'm talking about.
Who was that
Congressional
mysterious billionaire, the owner of Lowe's?
That was Home Depot.
Oh, Home Depot.
Home Depot, yeah.
And his name is?
Bernie Marcus.
Bernie Marcus.
M-A-R-C-U-S. Right. And the CBO, by the way, folks, is the Congressional Budget Office, which ran a report, did the analysis on $15 minimum wage, came to the conclusion that it's going to help 27 million workers, but yeah, 1 million jobs might be lost, but it will help. It will help 27 million Americans with increased wages, which will help their families. But the bottom line here is that, and I quote again from the article, you won't find any of the positive results of the CBO report in any conservative write-up about having little effect on jobs. Just a cost analysis. This assumption made is that any negative circumstance on business, regardless of the benefits from the same policy, must be highlighted. Even though 21 million people will get a wage boost for everyone that would lose a job under the CBO analysis, the only impacts mentioned in conservative reports and TV programs are the job losses. Now, I'd like to make a corollary to that. And I'd like to say that if you hear a story, and Rich, let me know if you think it's true or not. If you hear if a Republican bill passes, right, and helps business, but there's the pros and cons to it, you're probably only going to hear the pros to that bill and not the con. As in the liberal media, what I'm saying here is that you're only going to hear the cons of that whatever bill is passed and not the benefits to that bill. Okay, so that was the second of 3 economic just stories in the news. The next story is titled "Many Americans Going to Mexico for Cheaper Health Care." So we're going to watch a YouTube clip, and we're going to quote an article from the dailycaller.com dated October 30th, 2018. But let me watch this. Let's watch this clip, and I'll show you guys how incredible the cost difference what we're paying, or the cost what the Mexicans, or how much cheaper it is for Americans if they go to Mexico for health care. So let's watch this clip. Okay, did you hear that last part? Just as good as the U.S. or even better for that price. Did you hear the price, folks? $600 a year for 2 Americans in Manila, Mexico. Manila, Mexico. Let me read you this story. This is really an incredible story from dailycaller.com, again, dated October 30th, 2018. This title of this article is called Utah has a new strategy to save money on health care for public employees. Bus them to Mexico. I'll read this article. It's a short article. And I quote, Utah has a new strategy to save money on health care for its public employees. Pay them to go to Mexico, where the expensive drugs they need are way cheaper, and also offer a cash payout for some patients. Utah's Public Employee Health Plan, PEHP, started giving its members cash incentives to travel, to encourage them to travel to Tijuana for drugs, to treat ailments like osteoporosis, prostate cancer, and multiple sclerosis. PEHP provides health care to 160,000 public employees and their family members. Now, employees who qualify can get shuttled to Mexico by the state, thanks to Utah state legislation calling for the Public Employee Insurance Program to offer savings rewards or cash payouts to patients who use the cheapest provider, reported KSL News Radio. Why wouldn't we pay $300 to go to San Diego, drive across to Mexico, and save the system tens of thousands of dollars, said Republican Utah State Rep Norm Thurston, who sponsored the bill that backs the program. Certain individuals who take PEHP up on its offer receive a $500 payout and are transported by plane and bus to Tijuana, where they can buy up to a 90-day supply of 13 different medications, reported the Tribune. Transporting the patients costs Utah about $300. The money is pretty small in comparison to the difference between U.S. prices and Mexico prices. PEHP members can purchase a 30-day supply of multiple sclerosis drugs Avonex for about $2,000 in Tijuana, compared to about $7,000 in the United States, according to the Tribune. So PEHP members can save almost $4,000 a year for traveling to Tijuana rather than getting the drugs within the U.S., according to the Tribune. Let me go over some details of that report. The average Americans are getting so stressed out because of the rising cost of health care that it's getting unbearable, and we got to leave the country to find cheaper health care. Health care costs in the U.S. are intentionally not disclosed. One of the factors that's why is that their costs are intentionally not disclosed to patients, so users can't shop around. It's intentionally so. Imagine buying a product or service without knowing the price in advance. Who does that? What other country does that? Except for this country. Obamacare never addressed the cost problem with the U.S. healthcare system, and the premiums of Obamacare keep rising. In Mexico, medical and dental cost savings are between 70 and 80% for Americans. You know? I want to tell you a story, it's a personal story. My wife needed orthodontic treatment. She had a lot of medical issues. She got a referral to an orthodontist in Modesto. Her case required $11,000 worth of work. I told my wife can't afford it. My wife's from the Philippines. She made a call to her dentist, got a referral from ortho. We bought round-trip tickets, paid for everything, round-trip tickets, the hotel, taxis, food, and the full treatment, right? $2,000. $11,000 here, $2,000 in the Philippines. Okay? Medical tourism, I think that's what they're called, right? The bottom line, healthcare is not considered a right, or it's not considered sacred in this country, since providing low-cost care would interfere with maximizing profits for U.S. healthcare providers and healthcare insurance company shareholders. Now, just so you know, Rich, you can tell me if I'm right on this or not, but I do believe Allegiant from Stockton Airport, or another carrier, is providing flights to San Diego and Los Angeles. I think so. I think that Stockton Airport is going to provide services.
Yes, they are.
Right.
Yes.
So, folks, do your research before you go. There are clinics in Tijuana that provide medical and elective surgeries, but you can save between 70 and 80%. So it's a huge savings. until we get our medical system in this country straightened out. You have to go overseas, out of the country to save money. Okay, so that was our third economic justice story in the news. Let's watch that clip now. Next story is a spotlight story about democratic socialism. You're going to hear the word socialism a lot. You've heard it a lot over the last 50 years, demonized. You've heard that word demonized. It's only because of Bernie Sanders that word, or the democratic socialism version of that word, is making it come back in a positive light. And I'm going to be talking about democratic socialism more and more as we get closer to the election, to help show you there's no reason to demonize that word. It's something positive. Okay, and I'm going to show you right now why. So I'm going to have Bernie Sanders himself explain exactly what democratic socialism is in his own words. Then I'll come back and talk about it.
Well, a little publicized State of the Union speech, Franklin Delano Roosevelt said something, and I'm paraphrasing, but he said, when we talk about human freedom and rights, we've got to understand that everybody needs a decent wage job, that people need healthcare, that people need education. And all over the world, these ideas are taking place. You go to countries in Scandinavia, of course healthcare is a right. Higher education is free. They have strong preschool programs. They make sure that their elderly folks can retire in dignity. These are not radical ideas. So what democratic socialism means to me is having, in a civilized society, the understanding that we can make sure that all of our people live in security and in dignity.
Okay, that's the bottom line. And that's all it is. Making sure all Americans can live in economic security and in dignity. Okay, now that was one definition of the word. Let me give you another one from Bernie Sanders. They quoted a while back. Democratic socialism, I quote from Bernie, democratic socialism means the government has got to play a very important role in making sure that as a right of citizenship, all of our people have health care. That as a right, all of our kids, regardless of income, have quality health care. Quality child care. Are able to go to college without going deeply into debt. That it means we do not allow large corporations and moneyed interests to destroy our environment. That we create a government in which it is not dominated by big money interests. End of quote. And that was Bernie Sanders. So now you heard two definitions of democratic socialism. And what's wrong with that word? What's wrong with that word? Okay, why is it demonized by the Republicans? We both know why. Right, Rich?
Most certainly.
Yeah, right. And so
they want to concentrate that wealth in the hands of the few.
Yeah, and if the government comes in and puts caps on prices of hospital procedures and on drugs, that can limit their profits, right? And that's the whole reason why they're against it, because their re-election campaign money comes from corporations predominantly. Also, social ownership. Social ownership means worker-owned cooperatives or publicly owned enterprises are managed by their workers. 99% of us in the United States don't have real economic security. Though 99% don't have real economic security. We mostly live in economic fear. Democratic Socialists want Americans to live, and for all Americans to live in dignity and economic security. The bottom line is that Democratic Socialists believe that both the economy and society should be run so as to meet the needs of the public and not to make profits for a few. That's the bottom line of democratic socialism. Okay, so that was our spotlight story. And now we're going to watch a clip of our last story, show segment How Great Are We?
A note on what is a fair tax upon a corporation. 48%. Used to be the old federal tax on profits for corporations. Now it's down to about 18%.
Well, you're lucky if they pay that.
Yep.
Amazon pays zero. Amazon pays zero. GM.
Yeah, well, they were supposed to pay 14%,
right.
But they've set up things such as I guess we didn't make a profit.
They have so many loopholes, like you said. They get out of paying the profit. They only want the middle class to pay the taxes.
Plus, Amazon gets away with tax breaks wherever they do their warehouse operations.
Yeah, they always play, and then when they go to it, when they set up a new warehouse, and the cities start bidding for their services or their operations, Amazon's smart enough to play them both against the middle, and drop down. Who gives me the most tax breaks?
Yeah.
So, we're going to talk right now about the show segment we called "How Great Are We?" And in this segment, I compare America's social benefits to social benefits around the world, specifically in Northern Europe. In this case, we're going to watch a clip right now. I'm going to compare Denmark. Denmark was the happiest country on earth in 2017, and the Nordic countries always jockey for position for who's the happiest country, and I think it's Finland now. But let's watch a clip now of Denmark's social benefits. I'll come and talk about it. I'm going to be talking and paraphrasing news from usnews.com, dated January 20th, 2016. Kind of old, but the social programs they have in place in Denmark really have not changed much. So let's watch this clip.
Denmark. My American friends, there we go again. Denmark. It seems that President Trump is pretty obsessed with my country, Denmark. Denmark. The White House now released a report in which it warns against Nordic socialism. Total socialism. The report claims that the living standards in the U.S. are 15% higher than in Denmark. Really? Higher for food?
I'm really rich. I'll show you that in a second.
Well, it's true that the top 1% in the U.S. are much richer than the top 1% in Denmark.
I don't need anybody's money. It's nice.
And here's what the report doesn't show. An average blue-collar worker in Denmark makes far more than an average worker in the U.S.
Hey, believe me.
A person working at McDonald's in the U.S. makes less than half of what a person working at McDonald's in Denmark.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, imagine that.
We pay tax. We pay quite a bit more in tax in Denmark. But for that, you get free health care, you get free education. So all in all, the average living standard is much higher.
Very sad.
Let's look at poverty. The percentage of people that are poor in the U.S. is 3 times higher. That means we have a lot less people living, sleeping, and begging on the streets.
The American dream is dead.
Imagine that.
Denmark.
Yeah.
Ordinary people can still fulfill their dreams.
Okay, so you've heard that. Let me read now this article coming from usnews.com. I'll be paraphrasing and just reading sections of this article. Danes were the happiest people in the world in 2017. Denmark is now the 3rd happiest in 2019. And now I'll read you some reasons why that is, why they're the happiest people. I think I'm going to quote now, as the chief executive officer of the Happiness Research Institute, many of the journalists will look at me with disbelief and ask, Danes pay some of the highest taxes in the world, so why are they so happy? The reason behind the high level of support for the welfare state in Denmark is the awareness of the fact that the welfare model turns our collective wealth into well-being. We are not paying taxes. We are investing in our society. We are purchasing a high quality of life through the tax system. Education is free, even at the university level, and there is no tuition. Meanwhile, every Danish student receives about $900 per month from the state. That's where your taxes are going, folks. You want to know why taxes are? That's where you're going. They're coming right back to you. Read this again. Every Danish student receives about $900 per month from the state. Because taxes pay for so many life essentials, the Danish people simply have less to worry about than most people in other countries, and that forms a basis for a high level of happiness in their life. Amongst other things, okay? While most countries were either getting happier or at least treading water, America's happiness score, you know where we are, folks? We're number 18, and it keeps dropping. The U.S. is becoming more and more mean-spirited. and the conditions in this country are getting worse. So let's take a look now at what they have and what we have. What are their social benefits? What are ours? Denmark's healthcare cost per person, public or private, is about $3,500. Unemployment insurance fund replaces up to 90% of an employee's salary for a total of 3 years. Denmark provides subsidized employment training for those moving into different industries. You know, if you want to change your jobs, and okay, the government will pay for that. The work week in Denmark is about 37 hours. Every employee in Denmark receives 5 weeks paid vacation per year. And folks, that includes those McDonald's workers. 5 weeks paid vacation. Okay? Now you want to know where their tax money goes? That's where it goes. Okay? They get 32 weeks of paid parental leave. Denmark has one of the highest tax rates in the world, but since taxes pay for their basic life necessities, that's mostly why they're some of the happiest people. Other reasons, but predominantly, if you don't have to worry about, you know, how to feed your family, how to pay your bill, health care, how you can pay for child care, that's kind of why they're so happy. Well, what do we have here? Okay, the U.S. healthcare costs are more than double at about $7,300. Unemployment insurance lasts typically only 6 months. We have limited to no subsidized employment training for the unemployed. Our work week is approximately 47 hours on average. We have no government mandated vacation and no government mandated paternity or maternity leave. The U.S., yeah, we have low taxes, but a weak safety net. So Americans always live in economic fear. The great many of us live in economic fear anyway. So the bottom line here is, don't believe the conservative lie about taxes. Paying up front for basics in life is a lot cheaper than paying for them on an after-tax basis. So think about this, folks. You know, you get a paycheck, right? And you see deductions for pension, deductions for health care, deductions for child care, whatever, all the basics, right? They're done. You paid for them. The money you have left, they're not. You can pay for the non-essentials, okay? But the basics of your life are taken care of, so you don't have to worry about it, okay? Okay, so as I come to the end of the show, let's talk about the takeaways from today's show. The long history of the Alaska Permanent Fund, okay, is proof that a universal basic income system improves a family's quality of life, and it has. It still blows me away that it was a Republican who made that happen. Can you imagine that? It was a Republican who made that happen. From now on, Republicans will only mention the cost of progressive programs, never the benefits of those programs. More Americans are going to Mexico for their health care. Has proven that the U.S. healthcare system needs to be entirely scrapped and rebuilt for the benefit of its citizens and not for the benefit of corporate profit. I mean, from that article, American healthcare system is so expensive that many businesses now have to provide incentives to their workforce or their insured customers to travel to other countries to take care of their healthcare needs in order to save enormous amounts of money for themselves and their employers. Like I said before, what other country does that? Then I talked about democratic socialism. Like I said, I'm going to talk more about the definition of democratic socialism as we get closer to the election. Basically, again, a democratic socialist system will provide Americans with dignity through policies that create economic security for all of its citizens. And Denmark's ranking on the happiness index scale, where the U.S. is at number 18 and falling, but Denmark's ranking on the happiness scale has proven that Denmark's high taxes are cost effective, provide for a secure economic safety net, and therefore has a citizenry with a very high degree of happiness. Because it's not a tax, it's an investment in themselves and their country. Okay, that's the show for today, folks. Thanks for listening. This is Vic Bergsdorf at the Voice of San Joaquin. Have a great evening.
All right. Thank you, Vic.
Okay.
Richard Slezak gonna be wrapping things up here, and we're ending our recorded portion for future play, and This is the voice of Stockton.org, September 20th, 2019. This has been Balancing the Scales, the Economic Justice Report. And that came to about 38 minutes.
Okay.
And we're live on the Voice of Stockton, and we apologize for the lack of the radio DJ working. I know it's been a good 2 weeks that it hasn't been operational. Alrighty, we're going to end the YouTube webcast, and thank you for watching.